Why pizza wasn't actually Italian until it was. Italy didn't invent pizza. In fact, for most of history, what we call pizza today would have been completely unrecognizable to Italians. So how did a dish that existed across dozens of cultures for thousands of years become synonymous with one city in southern Italy? The answer involves volcanic soil, colonial conquest, and a queen who may have never actually eaten pizza. This is the real story of pizza, the ancient flatbread world pizza before pizza. Let's start with what pizza actually is at its core: flatbread with toppings. And if that's your definition, then pizza is one of humanity's oldest foods. The ancient Egyptians were baking flatbreads in mud ovens along the Nile over 6,000 years ago. The ancient Greeks had plakis, flatbread topped with oils, herbs, garlic, and cheese. When Romans conquered Greece, they adopted it and called it placenta. Yes, seriously. It was a layered flatbread with cheese and honey. Meanwhile, in Persia, soldiers would bake flatbreads on their shields in the heat of battle, topping them with dates and cheese. Across India, various forms of naan and roti served similar purposes. In China, there were scallion pancakes. Every culture with access to grain figured out flat dough plus heat plus toppings equals delicious food. So if everyone had pizza, why do we call it Italian? 2. The missing ingredient. Because for thousands of years, every flatbread in the world was missing one crucial ingredient, the ingredient that would transform this ancient food into what we recognize as pizza today: tomatoes. And here's where the story gets interesting. Tomatoes aren't from Italy. They're not even from Europe. They're from the Americas, specifically the Aztec Empire in what's now Mexico. When Spanish conquistadors arrived in the early 1500s, they encountered the Aztec people cultivating small, wild tomatoes called tomato. The Spanish brought seeds back to Europe around 1520, but for nearly 200 years, Europeans refused to eat them. Why? Because tomatoes are part of the nightshade family, and many nightshades are poisonous. Europeans called them poison apples. The wealthy would eat tomatoes off pewter plates, and the acid from the tomatoes would leach lead from the plates, actually poisoning people. So the reputation stuck. For 2 centuries, tomatoes were grown purely as decorative plants in European gardens, beautiful to look at, deadly to eat, or so everyone thought. Naples changes everything. Why Naples? So how did Naples become the birthplace of modern pizza? 3 reasons: poverty, volcanic soil, and timing. In the 1700s, Naples was one of the largest cities in Europe and one of the poorest. The city was packed with workers, laborers, fishermen, dock workers, who needed cheap, fast food they could eat with their hands while working. The poor neighborhoods of Naples, unlike the wealthy aristocrats, weren't afraid of tomatoes. By the early 1700s, desperate Neapolitans started cooking tomatoes. And they discovered something. When cooked, tomatoes were absolutely delicious. Now here's where geography matters. Naples sits in the shadow of Mount Vesuvius, the same volcano that destroyed Pompeii. That volcanic soil is incredibly fertile and perfect for growing tomatoes. The San Marzano tomato, still considered the best pizza tomato in the world, grows in that exact region. So you have cheap flatbread that's been baked in Naples for centuries, plus the recent acceptance of tomatoes, plus the perfect soil to grow them. The pieces were falling into place. The birth of pizza. By the late 1700s, street vendors in Naples were selling flatbreads topped with tomatoes, garlic, oil, and sometimes anchovies from wooden stands. They'd fold them into quarters so workers could eat them while walking. These were called pizza, from the Italian word pizzicare, meaning to pinch or pluck. But this was still poor people's food. The wealthy Neapolitans looked down on it. No one was writing about it in cookbooks. No one was celebrating it. It was just fuel for the working class. The first real pizzeria, a place dedicated to making pizza with a proper oven, opened in Naples in 1830. It was called Antica Pizzeria Portalba, and it's still operating today. But pizza was still a local, regional food eaten by poor Neapolitans. Then came the story that would change everything. And like many stories that change everything, this one might not even be true. In 1889, King Umberto I and Queen Margherita of Savoy visited Naples. According to legend, the queen was tired of fancy French cuisine and wanted to try the local specialty everyone was talking about. A pizzaiolo named Raffaele Esposito was summoned to make pizza for the queen. He created 3 pizzas, but one specifically to honor her: red tomatoes, white mozzarella, and green basil, the colors of the Italian flag. The queen supposedly loved it, and Esposito named it Pizza Margherita in her honor. Here's the thing. There's debate about whether this story actually happened. Some historians think it was brilliant marketing by Esposito. Others point to a thank you letter from the queen's servant as proof. True or not, the story worked. Pizza suddenly had royal approval. It wasn't just poor people's food anymore. Pizza conquers the world. Italian immigration in America. But pizza was still just a Neapolitan thing. The rest of Italy didn't really eat it. Northern Italians considered it crude southern peasant food. That's where Italian immigration comes in. Between 1880 and 1920, over 4 million Italians immigrated to the United States, many from southern Italy and Naples specifically. They brought their food traditions with them, including pizza. The first pizzeria in America opened in New York City in 1905. Lombardi's on Spring Street, and yes, it's still there. But pizza remained ethnic food, eaten mainly in Italian neighborhoods. Everything changed after World War II. American soldiers stationed in Italy fell in love with pizza. When they came home, they wanted more. Suddenly, pizza wasn't just Italian food. It was exciting, exotic, delicious. The 1950s and 60s saw an explosion of pizza restaurants across America. But American pizza started evolving. New York developed its thin, foldable slice. Chicago created deep dish. California added gourmet toppings. Each region made pizza their own. And here's the ironic part. As pizza spread across America and the world, it started flowing back to Italy. Northern Italians who had looked down on pizza for centuries started embracing it. By the 1960s and 70s, pizza had become a symbol of Italian identity worldwide, even in parts of Italy that had never eaten it before. The global pizza empire. Today, pizza is everywhere. Japan has mayo and corn pizza. Brazil puts green peas on it. India has paneer tikka pizza. Sweden loves banana and curry pizza. I'm not making this up. The numbers are staggering. Americans eat 350 slices of pizza per second. There are over 76,000 pizzerias in the United States alone. Pizza is a $145 billion global industry. But here's what's fascinating. In 2009, the European Union granted pizza napoletana a traditional specialty guarantee designation. This means that to be called authentic Neapolitan pizza, it must follow strict rules. San Marzano tomatoes, buffalo mozzarella, specific flour, hand-stretched dough, baked at exactly 485 degrees Celsius in a wood-fired oven for no more than 90 seconds. Italy is now fiercely protecting pizza as Italian heritage. The very food that wasn't Italian for thousands of years, that was looked down upon by most of Italy for centuries, is now one of the most protected and celebrated parts of Italian culture. The bigger picture. So was pizza Italian? The answer is, it depends on when you're asking. The flatbread concept, ancient and universal. The tomato, from Mexico. The combination of the two, that happened in Naples in the 1700s, created by poor workers who weren't afraid to eat a poisonous fruit from the New World. Pizza became Italian through a perfect storm of circumstances: geography, poverty, immigration, war, and brilliant marketing. It's a reminder that the foods we think of as authentically from one place are usually the result of global exchange, cultural mixing, and historical accidents. Every dish has a story like this. The foods we eat are maps of human migration, conquest, trade, and creativity. They connect us across time and continents in ways we rarely think about when we're just hungry and reaching for a slice. Next time you eat pizza, whether it's Neapolitan, New York, Chicago, or Swedish banana curry, you're not just eating Italian food. You're eating thousands of years of human history. If you enjoyed uncovering the real story behind pizza, subscribe to Fork and Folklore. Every week, we dig into the surprising origins of the world's most beloved dishes, because the truth is always more interesting than the legend. What food should we investigate next? Let me know in the comments. I'll see you in the next one.